welcome back to the channel. If you're any tech interested person and you usually use 3D printers, you might also be interested in phones. This is a IP68, IP69K and military standard 810H proof phone. So shock resistant, water resistant, dust resistant phone, the DooGee V20 Pro. Let's put it Sorry for that introduction. I'm normally not that excited about something new, but this phone was sent to me by DooGee for free, but it is a completely independent and honest review, and I think compared to other reviews, they were gonna do some really bad stuff to this phone. But before we do any abuse to this phone, let's have a look and test out the performance and camera and stuff like that, and then we're gonna put it to the real test. So the benchmark results are here, and the V20 Pro scores 417,748 points in the Antutu benchmark. But to give you a better indication what that actually means, I've also tested the Pixel 6a and my iPhone 13 Pro, so both are not the most up-to-date phones. The Pixel 6a scored 959,261 points. The iPhone 13 Pro scored 802,046 points. Does it really mean that this phone is half the speed or really slow compared to these two other phones? Well, from my first tests, I would say it's not really a slow phone. It's performing well, and probably on a daily basis you won't need much more performance. You won't see such a huge difference. But I also did some manual scrolling tests just to give myself an impression like how fast or slow is this phone performing web browsing, for example, because that's one of the most common use cases that I have on a daily basis. So here we have the New York Times open on all three different phones. And just from manually scrolling up and down, I would say the Pixel 6a is kind of the smoothest of three phones. This one is a little bit lagging, still performing quite well. The iPhone, also does pretty well. I would say from smooth scrolling perspective, the Pixel 6a is the one that I like the most, then the iPhone, and then comes the V20 Pro. Another thing that I want to test is how heavy are these phones. Just to give you a comparison in that regard, this feels rather heavy, so let's see how heavy that is. With the protective cover, it has 338 grams, 339. You can remove this cover, but I think it's not really the thing that you want to do, because you want a tough phone, right? So let's be fair and also weigh these other two phones with their protective covers on, and they also have a screen protector, so that adds additional weight. So the Pixel 6a coming in at 219 grams and the iPhone 13 Pro 250 grams. I'm gonna make this my daily driver for the next couple of days to give you an impression at the end of the video what I think about the phone, battery life and such things. I think it's now time to take it outside to give it a real test. So I gotta do some errands, and this is the perfect opportunity to do some vlogging with the V20 Pro, just to see how good is the video quality overall. Is it usable for vlogging? Does it take good pictures? What are the important things to know about the cameras on this phone? First of all, there's one main camera with 48 megapixels, and the maximum resolution in video is 2K. So that's a little bit disappointing, because normally you would think it could do 4K, but I think it's just not capable of running 4K 30 or 4K 60. But the other cameras are like a night vision camera, and the third one seems to be this IR camera. And I didn't find another zoom lens or wide angle lens. There's only one lens that you can select when you do photos or videos, and you can zoom in by a factor of 4. Let's try out all of the cameras of the phone and see how good they are. But for now, let's focus on the video quality and the quality of the microphone for doing some vlogging. So just from this little sequence, you can probably make a good judgment about the video quality already. One little thing that's already pretty obvious is that the camera isn't very wide angle, so it's a standard lens. And for vlogging, that's not the most ideal situation. So if you compare that with the same view that you're now seeing, and I'm just turning over to the iPhone, wide angle lens, this is a completely different picture. It's so much wider, it can cover so much of everything around you. And that's of course important if you're doing vlogging, if you want to capture the moment and you're not every time focusing the camera really into the center, which is sometimes really hard, then a wide angle lens would be super helpful. But unfortunately, the V20 Pro doesn't have 3 different lenses as the iPhone does. So you have only one main camera lens, and then all you can do is basically just zoom in, but you cannot really zoom out. Concluding the vloggability test of the V20 Pro, I would say it's somewhat usable, but if you're trying to film yourself, you should always have a good distance, like this distance where I can't actually do this with my arm anymore. Then you can get away with it. But if you want to capture something close up and still see the surroundings, so the scene and the environment, then this is probably not the right phone for you. If you're not so much into vlogging and you're just into filming things on a day-by-day basis, you can just take a step back, and that's the solution essentially. Personally, I always prefer to use the main camera for anything because it's always the best video quality, and also the photo quality is much better. With every single phone that I ever had, the selfie camera was kind of mediocre, so not the highest quality, of course, because it's a super tiny camera, but let's give it a try. So this is the selfie camera. I'll let you decide if this is the better video quality, if that looks any different. But from the first sight, I don't think that the angle is better. It's not really wide angles, just probably the same as the main camera. And maybe the video quality or the image quality is a little less good. But enough driving in cars, let's do something more exciting now. So, vlogging while one-wheeling. Oh my goodness! Yeah, so the phone fell on the face, obviously. Looks like it has some scratches, but actually just the protective foil is a little bit damaged. Looks like the screen is still working. So far, so good. I think we can continue our journey. First test survived, I would say. But what happens if we drop it another time? I don't know. Maybe let's just do it. Well, so far so good. I think we're still recording. 2 times dropped, 1 ride over. I mean, it's not too bad, right? And still recording. Oh my goodness. Welcome back to day 2. It's time to check out the phone again after our little adventure ride. There it is. So this screen protector foil is completely wasted. I'd say let's take it off. Let's have a look. So far so good. I don't see any major... Oh, there is a huge crack over here. This is going from edge to edge, but didn't spread over the whole display yet. Actually surprising that there is not more scratches in the glass here. There's a little one here in the corner down below The backside, just from the distance, looks good. There's a few bumps and scratches here. One is next to the infrared camera, but the cameras themselves look pretty fine. It doesn't look that they have any cracked glass or something. Considering the things that we've done to this phone so far, this isn't actually a bad result. Since the weather is fine, I would say let's take some pictures in the garden now and then give the night vision camera and the infrared camera a test before we do the final conclusions. By the way, all the images that we've taken with the V20 Pro so far in the garden and also later the infrared and the night vision images can be downloaded from my website using the link down in the description, so you can watch them on your computer in full resolution because the video is probably not translating the image quality properly for you. So let's get back down to the studio for some final testing. It's time for my final verdict about the DooGee V20 Pro. Let me bring up my notes.
Say the magic word.
What's going on? Okay. I almost forgot to mention that this phone has a night vision mode that makes it see in the dark. And it also has these IR illumination lamps that basically just add additional infrared light so it can see even better. Probably if you don't have a flashlight, but honestly every smartphone nowadays has a flashlight function. So maybe there's a use case for this, but I see more potential for the infrared functionality of this phone. This is the infrared camera of the DooGee V20 Pro. This is the feature that makes this phone so expensive versus the V20. I can imagine all kinds of use cases where this camera might be useful. For example, if you want to find out if your heating system is working fine, you could go outside and film your house at night and find out if there's any issues with the isolation, for example. There's all kinds of use cases for plumbers, construction site workers, I would say building owners in general, where this kind of camera can be useful. But it's also just fun to use. But honestly, the question that you need to ask yourself is, do you need this camera? Because this camera makes this phone about 2/3 more expensive than just the V20. So you can get it for like $350, the V20, and this one is almost $1,000. So you need to really know if you want and need this camera, preferably for a professional use case. But now my final verdict of the DooGee V20 Pro. Overall, it's a pretty good phone. It is average in most of the things, so don't expect high performance. It has a lot of memory, but the processor is rather on the mid-range. Don't expect that to be a super crazy gaming phone. What is really outstanding with this phone is the infrared and night vision mode, so that makes this phone special. And also, of course, it's ruggedized. It has a big battery. Talking about battery, the battery life seems to be around about 2.5 days, at least when I use it. On the plus side is definitely the amount of storage on this phone, 256 gigabytes, and then 20 gigabyte of RAM should be plenty enough to all kinds of applications that you might run on this phone. It has Android 12, that's a great plus. However, I don't know whether and when it's gonna get Android 13. The main camera, which I would probably use the most, is kind of limited. So it has 48 megapixels. It takes great pictures, as you've seen, but the video quality is rather mediocre. So 2K video resolution, no image stabilization, no wide angle lens. Especially the image stabilization that's missing makes the footage, and if you've seen this in the vlogging test, makes it quite unwatchable. You've seen this phone is almost indestructible. It's pretty hard to crack. So I'd say the normal person, the normal usage will not destroy this phone. It's gonna be a good daily driver. And if you wanna get this phone, I've put Amazon links down in the description. Also for the V20, which doesn't have the IR camera, but is less priced, like even just about 1/3 of the price. So if you're interested to get them, check out those links in the description. It's gonna help out the channel. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos, and I'm happy to see your smiling faces back soon on the channel. Until then, I wish you a good week. Bye bye. Thank you.